Video opens with grainy, 16mm style footage. Slow-motion shots of anonymous crowds walking through a city at dusk. The colors are muted, desaturated. A sense of unease. Soft, melancholic synthesizer music begins to play. Voiceover. There is a feeling you know, but perhaps have never named. It's a quiet ache that lives in the background of modern life. A low-grade hum of disappointment. It's the feeling that you are living in the epilogue of a story that ended before you were born. We have a name for this. We call it the syndrome of the cancelled future. It's the creeping suspicion that humanity's best days are a sepia-toned photograph in a history book. And for the next few minutes, we are going to excavate a single moment in time when that feeling did not exist. By understanding what they had, and what we have lost, you will find a blueprint, not to rebuild their world, but to begin designing your own. The music shifts slightly, becoming more inquisitive. The visuals change to archival footage of people in the present day, staring blankly at their phones on subways, in cafes. The shots are voyeuristic, as if taken by a private detective. Voiceover. Have you ever scrolled through images of concept art from the 1960s? Gleaming monorails, utopian cityscapes under geodesic domes, families in sleek silver jumpsuits looking out at Martian colonies. What do you feel in that moment? It's not just amusement at the retro-futurism. It's a pang of something deeper. A strange nostalgia for a future you never had. You feel this because you are fluent in the language of a cancelled future. It's a language you were taught without ever opening a book. You see it in the films you watch, where the future is almost always a dystopia to be survived, not a civilization to be built. You hear it in the news, which presents tomorrow as a series of problems to be managed. Climate catastrophe, economic instability, political decay. The grand narrative of progress, the one that powered humanity for 2 centuries, has fractured into a million anxious subplots. And the internal cost of this is immense. Think of it. You're at your desk. You have an idea, a bold one. A new project, a new career path, a radical change in your life. For a fleeting moment, you feel a spark of genuine excitement. A vision of a different, better you. Then the syndrome kicks in. The cynical inner monologue starts its broadcast. Is this realistic? Is this the right time? The world is a mess. I should be practical. I should play it safe. The vision shrinks. The ambition cools. You close the notebook and open a spreadsheet. You choose to manage your own decline, because you've been conditioned to believe that decline is the only realistic trajectory. This is the hidden tax of living in a pessimistic age. The syndrome of the cancelled future doesn't just steal our collective dreams of space travel and shining cities. It systematically hollows out your personal ambition. It convinces you that the most rational thing you can do is to want less, to risk less, and to quietly accept a smaller life. It is a prison of diminished expectations, and most of us don't even see the bars. But what if I told you there was a place, a moment in time, where the opposite was true? An event so saturated with unapologetic optimism that it acted as a psychic beacon for the entire world. A place that didn't just predict the future, but built a working prototype of it. The visuals shift dramatically. Bright, color-saturated, grainy footage of the 1970 World Expo in Osaka, Japan. We see strange, sweeping architecture, smiling crowds of people from all over the world, and futuristic exhibits. The music swells with a sense of wonder and hope. Voiceover. This was Expo 70. The first World's Fair ever held in Asia. And it is the key. It was not just a collection of buildings. It was a psychological operation. A manifesto written in steel, concrete, and light. It was the physical embodiment of a philosophy we can call prototyping utopia. The core idea is deceptively simple. The Expo's organizers believed that to create a better future, you couldn't just talk about it. You had to design it, build a small-scale version of it, and invite the world to come and walk through it. You had to make hope a tangible, sensory experience. You had to rehearse the future before you could perform it. This philosophy was built on 4 foundational principles. Voiceover. First, harmonious progress. The official theme of the Expo was progress and harmony for mankind. This was a radical statement. In the West, Progress had often meant conquest, over nature, over other cultures. But here, the vision was different. It was about synthesis. Technology and tradition, humanity and nature. East and West. The entire layout of the expo, designed by the master Kenzo Tange, was meant to resemble a living organism, a tree, with pavilions as its branches and blossoms. It was a declaration that the future shouldn't be a sterile machine, but a thriving, complex ecosystem. Visuals shift to close-ups of specific exhibits. A child touching a real moon rock. The Sanyo electric, human washing machine. The gleaming electric cars. The crowds looking up in awe. Voiceover. Second, the tangible dream. The problem with the future is that it's an abstraction. The organizers of Expo 70 understood this. So they made it physical. You didn't just hear about space travel. You could queue for hours to touch a piece of the moon brought back by Apollo 12. You didn't just read about new ways of living. You could walk through pavilions that were themselves radical experiments in architecture. It bypassed the cynical part of the brain and spoke directly to the senses. It sent a simple, powerful message. The future is not a fantasy. It has weight. It has texture. It is real, and it is coming. The visuals focus on the most iconic and surreal structures. The Tower of the Sun, the Fuji Group Pavilion, the Sumitomo Fairy Tale Pavilion. The shots are artistic, emphasizing the strange, otherworldly beauty of the designs. Voiceover. Third, aesthetic optimism. Look at these structures. They are strange. They are bold. They are, in many ways, beautiful. But above all, they are not timid. Taro Okamoto's bizarre, magnificent Tower of the Sun, bursting through the roof of the main plaza, was a primal scream of life. The Fuji Group's pavilion was a collection of giant, inflatable tubes that looked like a cloud made solid. This wasn't the grim, functional brutalism that was becoming popular elsewhere. This was architecture as a statement of confidence. It was a belief that the future should not only work well, but it should also be inspiring, playful, and even a little bit weird. The aesthetic itself was an argument for a more imaginative world. Voiceover. And finally, the fourth principle, the open invitation. At the height of the Cold War, with the world split into rigid ideological camps, Expo 70 created a temporary, neutral territory. A 6-month-long truce where 77 nations came not to debate borders or ideologies, but to showcase their best ideas for a shared human destiny. For a brief period, on this patch of land in Osaka, the world looked less like a battlefield and more like a collaborative workshop. It was a prototype for a global community. Think of the entire expo as a full dress rehearsal for a future that, for many reasons, never had its opening night. The oil crisis of 1973, the end of the post-war economic boom, a global slide into cynicism, they all conspired to cancel the show. And we are the children of that cancellation. We are living in the abandoned theater, surrounded by the dusty props of a magnificent production that never was. But the script, the blueprint for how they built that stage, still exists. And we can use it. Not to rebuild their future, but to escape the syndrome of the cancelled future in our own lives. We can learn to prototype our own utopias. Voiceover. This is not about pretending the world's problems don't exist. This is a practical, psychological technique for reclaiming a sense of agency in an overwhelming world. It is a 4-step process. 1. Build your personal pavilion. At the expo, each country built a pavilion to house its vision of the future. You are going to do the same, but on a micro scale. Your personal pavilion is a project. A small, defined, tangible project that represents a prototype of your ideal future self. It is crucial that this is not your main job or a core responsibility. It is your experimental zone. If your ideal future involves being more creative, your pavilion is not become a famous artist. It is fill a single, 30-page sketchbook. If your ideal future is being a knowledgeable person, your pavilion isn't read every classic. It is read the complete works of a single author you admire. Ask yourself, what is one skill, one quality, one aspect of a life I want, that I can turn into a small, physical, completable project? This project becomes your personal World's Fair, a place where you make your own future tangible. It's a declaration that you are still building, even if it's just one small thing. Visuals show someone carefully choosing a single, beautiful art print and hanging it on their wall. Another person changes their laptop's cluttered desktop to a single, inspiring image of a nebula or a piece of architecture. Voiceover. 2. Practice aesthetic optimism. Your environment is an algorithm that feeds your mind. If your visual diet consists of anxiety-inducing news feeds and cluttered, chaotic spaces, your mind will produce anxiety and chaos. You must consciously curate your own aesthetic. Your task is this: choose one image. Just one. It could be a piece of architecture, a photograph of a natural landscape, a painting, a still from a film. It must be an image that, to you, represents a future worth striving for. A future that feels calm, intelligent, beautiful, or expansive. Make this image the background on your phone and your computer. Print it out and place it on your desk. This is not a magic trick. This is cognitive training. You are deliberately and repeatedly exposing your mind to a visual symbol of your own hope. You are replacing the aesthetic of the cancelled future with your own. Voiceover. 3. Declare your theme. Expo 70 had a theme: progress and harmony for mankind. This theme acted as a filter, a guiding principle for everything they built. You need to give your own life a theme. I don't mean a list of goals. A list of goals is a series of demands you make on yourself. A theme is a direction you choose to face. For the next 3 months, what is your theme? Is it exploration and learning? Is it discipline and craft? Is it connection and community? Write it down. Put it somewhere you can see it. When you have a decision to make, ask, which choice is more aligned with my theme? This simple act shifts you from a reactive state, constantly putting out fires, to a creative state, constantly building towards a coherent vision. You stop being a character in someone else's chaotic story and become the author of your own. Visuals showed 2 friends meeting in a quiet coffee shop, one showing the other a sketchbook. They are engaged in a thoughtful, supportive conversation. It feels intimate and collaborative. Voiceover. 4. Host a micro expo. The World's Fair was about sharing progress. The isolation of the syndrome of the cancelled future is one of its most potent weapons. It convinces you that you're the only one who feels this way, that your small efforts are meaningless. You must break this isolation. Once a month, schedule a meeting with 1, maybe 2, trusted friends. The purpose of this meeting is to be each other's World's Fair. You will each share one thing you have learned, created, or discovered in your personal pavilion, or in service of your theme. This is not for applause. It is not for validation. It is for the cross-pollination of ideas. It is to create a tiny, temporary space where progress and optimism are the default assumptions. It is a reminder that you are not building alone. You are creating a microclimate of possibility in a world that feels increasingly impossible. The visuals return to the stunning archival footage of Expo 70 at night. The pavilions are lit up, glowing like jewels against the dark sky. The music is reflective and powerful. Voiceover. Does this actually work? Does this personal form of prototyping utopia have any real power? Look at the expo itself. For 6 months, it was the most visited place on the planet. Over 64 million people came. It was an unprecedented success. It projected a new image of Japan to the world, not as a defeated military power, but as a peaceful, innovative, and forward-looking culture. It inspired a generation of artists, architects, and thinkers. The energy was real. The hope was infectious. The expo's failure wasn't in its design or its philosophy. Its failure was that the rest of the world couldn't keep up. The dream it prototyped was too fragile for the cynical decade that followed. There is a well-known concept in psychology, developed by researchers Hazel Marcus and Paula Nereus, called possible selves. The theory states that we are driven by the future versions of ourselves we can imagine. We have our hoped-for selves, the successful, happy, fulfilled versions of us. And we have our feared selves, the failed, lonely, stagnant versions. Your motivation, your resilience, your very ability to act, depends on which of these visions is more vivid, more detailed, and more believable in your own mind. The syndrome of the cancelled future is a cultural machine for manufacturing vivid, feared selves. It bombards us with them every single day. The 4 steps we've outlined are a methodology for designing and building a more vivid, hoped-for self. It is a pragmatic act of psychological rebellion. You are consciously building a prototype of a future you, so that you have a clear and compelling destination to navigate towards. You are taking the grand, ambitious spirit of Expo 70 and internalizing it. The future they imagined, one of effortless progress and technological salvation, may indeed be lost. Perhaps it was always a fantasy. But the capacity to imagine a better future, to design it, and to build a small piece of it in the here and now, that is not a fantasy. It is a choice. It is the only tool we have. Voiceover. The Tower of the Sun, the strange, beautiful heart of the Expo, had 3 faces. A black sun on its back, representing the past. A face in its belly, representing the present. And a golden mask at its peak, gazing out at the future. It was a monument to the understanding that all 3 exist at once. That the past is always with us, and the future is something we must constantly, deliberately, choose to look towards. In the comments below, I want you to answer a question. If you had to choose a single image, a piece of art, a place, or even just a concept to put on your own golden mask, a symbol of your ideal future, what would it be? Let's build an archive of possibilities together. These are the forgotten blueprints and hidden histories we uncover at Hello, Yesterday. If you believe the past is a manual for navigating the present, subscribe and join our search. The optimism of 1970 was born from the ashes of a devastating war. It could not have existed without that trauma. To truly understand the world that dreamed this dream, you must watch our video on the psychology of post-war Japan. It is the essential prequel to the story we've told today. Click the link on screen to continue the investigation.